Greetings again, adventurers, and welcome back to Let's Play Final Fantasy. In the last episode, we managed to cross the perilous bridge of the Warmech, and we managed to confront Tiamat, the Fiend of Wind, in her chamber at the very summit of the floating castle. And with Tiamat's defeat, we have finally restored the elemental crystals: the earth crystal, the fire crystal, the water crystal, and last, but by no means least, the air crystal, or the wind crystal if you prefer, but it's supposed to be air. But that begs the question. We've defeated 4 fiends, and we now have 4 restored crystals. So now what do we do, adventurers? Well, we're back here at Crescent Lake to consult the Circle of 12 Sages and see what else needs to be done, because our adventure is not over yet. Not quite yet, dear adventurers. And I actually believe that I didn't bring the water crystal back after I defeated Kraken, but never mind, they're all defeated now. And what do you have to say about this matter, O wise and knowledgeable sages of Crescent Lake? Yes, we know you are the 12 sages led here by the stars and prophecy. We'll consider that prophecy fulfilled. The Temple of Fiends is in the center of the 4 altars. The time has come to destroy the source of evil. The Temple of Fiends? But that's a ruin. We faced off against the fallen knight Garland in there back when we first arrived here at Cornelia. That's where our journey began. Do we have to go back there? There might be more to the temple than meets the eye. Like a hidden passage or something. With the 4 orbs shining again, or the 4 crystals, the time gate can be broken. The true enemy is 2,000 years in the past. This would actually be quite a surprise if we hadn't talked to one of the Lefanish, who actually mentioned, foreshadowingly, that the 4 elemental fiends were themselves being aided by an unseen power. And that power just so happens to be our true foe. But 2,000 years in the past? And what's this about the time gate? The world was suddenly thrown into disorder. You must restore it. Well, we can but try. Time is repeating. In order to break the time loop, you must eliminate the enemy who controls from 2,000 years in the past. That's certainly an interesting twist. It appears there is an enemy that can manipulate time, and is controlling time from 2,000 years in the past. But does that mean that everything we've done up until this point is destined to repeat itself? I mean, we've been through time loops before. If you've followed my Let's Play adventures of Steins Gate and BlazBlue Calamity Trigger, you will know that I'm no stranger to time loops, so why not? Someone traveled 2,000 years to the past. The 4 fiends were sent forward in time. Those fiends threaten to destroy the world today. Yet another interesting turn of events. So the fiends that we fought were sent forward in time from the past, which probably explains why, why they were slumbering in crystals when we found them. But our foe remained in the past, this mysterious power that has yet eluded us all this time. I see now. Someone who travelled back 2,000 years is the cause of the world's destruction. After 2,000 years he will travel back again, then again, then again. So someone from the present has gone back in time, and has sent the 4 fiends into the future. And with the fiends in the future, and our mysterious malefactor in the past, they have created a time loop. But even though we've destroyed the fiends in the present, aka their future, it seems that that wasn't enough to break the time loop, because the time loop is being maintained by whoever went back into the past, who will then send the fiends forward into the future, and then will return into the past. It sounds all convoluted, but then again, time loops certainly are. Time will repeat itself every 2,000 years. Break the time loop. So you mean that this has all happened before? When we go back in time 2,000 years forward, our younger incarnations will appear in the land with the crystals, inert. And that music was glitching out there, I apologize. But in order to break the time loop, we will have to travel back 2,000 years into the past to begin with. Light warriors, only you can make the orb shine again. Well, they're all shining right now, as you can see. We must use force only for just purposes. And they lost control of the elements: wind, water, earth, and fire. Those powers have been restored. Now all legends and prophecy will be fulfilled. Our path has been decided. Fare thee well, Lucan. We might not be meeting each other again at some point, but, well, certainly a rather surprising twist for an adventure fantasy. A 2,000-year-old time loop that will cause events to loop again, it seems. Yeah, it all sounds pretty vague in the context of the original classic Final Fantasy adventure, because how can time be repeating itself when, well, when we're basically here in the present? But nevertheless, we have to go back in time. But again, that raises the point of, if we're stuck in a time loop, how many times has this been since we've tried to break the time loop? A dozen? 1,000? How many time loops have we gone through in order to do this? But before we can answer that question, actually that question will probably never be answered, but before we head back to the Temple of Fiends, there is one final place that we must go to in order to prepare ourselves for the coming conflict. So, I will see you all in a brief moment, adventurers. And here we are at our destination, dear adventurers, the Dwarven Cave of Mount Duergar. Actually, now that I think about it, isn't Duergar supposed to be a kind of malicious kind of dwarf? Don't know why they called it that, but why not? Now there is something we have that the dwarves definitely need, and that is the piece of adamant, the legendary metal, that we acquired during our journey through the floating castle. A metal that we've been looking for quite some time now, and the one person who can make use of it is Smith the blacksmith. Adamant, now let me make the sword for you. Here's the best work, the best work I've ever done. It is my gift. Revive the power of the orbs. Well, they have been revived, but Smith's role has now been fulfilled. And our reward? The Excalibur Blade. Ho ho ho. Oh man. The greatest weapon that Theo will ever wield as a knight, Excalibur. A blade that will make Thero as legendary as the fabled King Arthur. But, actually, you know what? I'm going to fly back to Cornelia one final time. And park down here. Sell the Sunblade, because we are definitely not going to be needing it anymore. Just wanted one last look at the place before we depart, because once we travel back in time, we're not going to be seeing this place anytime soon. Farewell, Cornelia. But before we leave, we will actually venture into the castle once more. It has been so long when we last ventured here. And you are the honor guard of Castle Cornelia, indeed. I don't think we have any real need to speak to anyone else. And you are also a honor guard, thanking us for rescuing Princess Sarah, and that is why we are here. The princess always worries about you, that she does. Hello again, Princess Sarah. Now get ready for your trip and make the orb shine again. Well, that's all they apparently had to say on the matter. And there's no need to speak to anyone else, although we can actually speak to Sarah's sister, who's still here. Yeah, she doesn't really say anything. And, actually, no, there is nothing more we need to do here in Castle Cornelia. And so the time has finally come, adventurers, to head to our final destination. A destination that we went to a long time ago. There it is, the Temple of Fiends. Ruined and destroyed. The very first area that we went into, the very place where our adventure began, is where our adventure must ultimately come to an end. And there are more undead here, but at this point, do we even really need to worry about them? At this, oh wow, one damage. That was actually quite impressive. More impressive than I ever gave them credit for. And I equipped myself with the defense weapon to sort of balance ourselves out. Now, we're back in the chamber where Garland had held Princess Sarah captive, and there are at least 5 blue bats again. Now, the Lefanish actually did mention that 5 scholars of theirs went missing, but they learned that they had been transformed into bats. You must travel back in time 2,000 years. Now, with the orb shining, stand in the time gate. When the 4 orbs cover the black orb in the center of the palace, the time gate can open. So that's what the black crystal is for. Ah. Garland is pretty tricky. The 4 Fiends' power is rooted 2,000 years ago. The real enemy is in that time. Well, the 4 Fiends of the present/future have been destroyed, but with this time loop, we are the 5 lost Sky Warriors. 400 years ago we battled against the cause of the world's destruction. Help us. The Fiend's curse turned us into bats. With the orb shining anew, once again we can speak. Well, you've done all you can, and we've done all we can up until this point. So now, the time has finally come. The orbs are shining, and it is time to use them to open the time gate and travel 2,000 years back in the past, which would actually make this the greatest time leap that we have ever faced, adventurers. Not even Rentaro Okabe, aka Hoenn Kiyoma, has ever attempted a time loop of, or a time leap of this magnitude. So, without further ado, adventurers, let us depart for the past. The 4 orbs now cover the black orb. To take a step forward is to go back 2,000 years in time. And we still have the orbs in our possession, but the time gate is now open. Let us go. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, dear adventurers, to the Temple of Fiends, as it was 2,000 years before. And it is no longer a ruin, it is now in its prime. It is far greater than we ever imagined. And there will be many perils here along the way. Now, believe it or not, adventurers, we cannot go back, or rather, we cannot go back to go forward in time, save the exception of the warp and the exit spells, which is why I have them. If we didn't have either of those two spell abilities, we would be stuck here in the past. But now the time has finally come to venture forth and defeat the true enemy. Let's go. Now, we do not want to go to the left path, because that will take us into a barred chamber. Instead, we want to venture over here to this other staircase. Oh, but the way is certainly going to be very perilous indeed. Frost dragons right off the bat. Oh man, frost dragons. Unfortunately, we should be able to deal with them. Let's use some magic. Let's get some magic going. And the Excalibur is a very real power. And that's not what I wanted to happen. That's not what I wanted to see. Blizzard right off the bat. Oh man. There's the power of Thor and Zeus at work. And hopefully I can get that blizzard or anti-ice protection off. We're not going to have that for too much longer. In fact, I may even have to run away from some of the enemies in order to... and even though we're protecting against... that still does a considerable amount of damage to us. Really want to save my spells for the fights ahead, because there is definitely a lot that we're going to have to deal with. That is a lot of gil if we wanted to spend it. And more frost dragons, so I'm going to flee this encounter. One moment. I know I could get some experience from them, but I really don't want to risk it. Because as terrifying as frost dragons can be, what awaits us all is something even truly more terrifying. I want to head down here. Actually no, we can't go this way. We need to head down here. Oh, bad man. Why? They're just throwing out all the stops, aren't they? We want to head down here, and we want to head into this chamber here. Now this creature is similar to the Eye, but it's called Phantom, and hopefully we can... ooh, you have glare. It's well, we'll just do as much damage as we can to it, but it's not nearly as formidable as its counterpart, the Eye. Although, having said that, we're actually dealing quite a lot of damage to it. But it has been defeated. It doesn't have any of the things that the Eye has, and more besides. 45,000. Not bad. Pretty reasonable. A reasonable thing. And 65,000. Nice. In the middle of these stone statues is another object barring our path. There is a stone plate on the floor. You sent something. Evil? Well, we've encountered the stone plate before. So, we shall use the rod on it. No, we can't. The rod to remove the plate from the earth. But, it seems that, we can't actually, we cannot actually use the rod to open the stone plate here in the Temple of Fiends this time. So, what do we need in order to break the stone plate and go through? Well, adventurers, we already have the means to do that. That was given to us a long time ago, or 2,000 years in the future, if you want to get technical. Because a certain someone actually gave us an item to be able to bypass this stone plate here in the Temple of Fiends. The very first item that we actually were given in this instance. The loot handed to us by Princess Sarah in order to break the evil gate. So now it is finally time for the loot to work its magic. Before we used it to play beautiful music, and it is quite beautiful music, but this time it now has a purpose. The tune plays, revealing a stairway. Remember the fact that she mentioned that the loot was 2,000 years old and passed down through generations. And beautiful music fills the air. And lo and behold, the evil gate has been opened. But I'm going to leave the episode here for the time being, adventurers, because what awaits below in the depths of the Temple of Fiends is certainly going to test everything that we've done up until this point. All our skills, all our prowess, all our magical abilities and aptitude, and more besides. So, when we return, adventurers, we shall venture below into the depths of the Temple of Fiends, and face whatever evils await. As always, adventurers, until next we meet.